Hi, I'm Lin.
And I'm Leo. Welcome back to Yoga with Lin and Leo.
And welcome back to our series on improving your Halasana. So this isn't for complete beginners. We do have a tutorial on getting up and moving in Halasana. So this is just preparations that may make it a little easier and hopefully preparing to your other inversions such as Savasana.
So the poses that we're doing in these 5 sequences will be to help to improve your Halasana if you're already practicing that but need a little bit of help to make it better.
Yes, and we're going to need some equipment, so Leo will go through the equipment.
So I'm sitting on one brick and I've got another brick here, so you need 2 yoga bricks, 5 foam pads, a chair of some description, doesn't have to be a yoga chair. Now you can replace your foam pads with folded blankets. You need to have a differential between the height of your shoulders and the height of the floor. And you could use the seat of the chair to take your hands down to. Oh no, you do need 2 bricks because we're going to stand on them, aren't we? Yeah, no, you definitely need 2 bricks.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully you're on your mat. We're going to start with Adho but with a little bit of a difference. You can see the mat here. Now this is going to be a pleated mat. You can use a plank, or you can use
folded blanket,
rolled blanket. You can use. We just happen to use this because it's here in our sequencing. So when you come into this pose, it's really quite challenging, but it really gets the fronts of the legs working. We want the front of the legs to work really well so that we can get the access to the front body. So how Leo is going to be working is like this. So be careful that you don't drop into your inner heels, because that's something that you can do with this lift. And you kind of cut those outer heels in really strongly so that you still lift the inner ankles. Okay, now coming forward, you may be able to come forward with straight legs, hinging forward and taking the hands down, but for most of you, I'm sure that you will need to bend your knees like this and go down. So whichever way you find is most suitable, then come into your Adho Svanasana towards it. Now a lot of you will be lifting your heels, and the aim is to get your heels down. Now if the ankles are really tight, you just gauge it so that it's not too overly intense, but the aim is eventually to keep those heels down and keep walking, keep your fingers walking towards the end of the mat, not literally to the end of the mat, but so that you have a Adho Svanasana action as much as possible rather than an Uttanasana action. So go and see that you push your thighs back very strongly and you feel it in the front legs. This is a very, very strong action, but a good action to get those front thighs lifted, to get the lower abdomen lifted so strongly. Okay, so we're going to come out of this pose now. So to come out of the pose, you can step the feet forward and come up. Okay, and just feel that work in your body. Stand in Tadasana. Have the feet a little apart for your Tadasana on this, and see that you're lifting out of the pelvis and rolling your shoulders back and down. See if you can get that lift through the front thighs from above the knees, and of course with the feet you've got to see that you're lifting those inner ankles up very strongly. For our next pose, we're going to come into Uttanasana, slightly different today again. We're going to use some props. Now these props are helping us with getting a little bit more of a deeper action in our bodies. So these bricks are not there to do the pose, they're there to help inform the body. Now you may need, when you go up on your high heels, which is these bricks here, you may need to have a chair in front of you so that you can come onto a chair from here if the floor is far too far away. If that's the case, that's no problem, or you may be able to find a ledge you can put your hands onto, or a couple of yoga bricks. So you're going to hinge forward and you're going to stand on the bricks. Yeah, you're going to stand on the bricks. Yeah, so you get that lift. And now hinging forward and then taking your hands down. So depending on the inner lining of the leg and how much you can lift and stretch and extend in your legs will depend on how far you can take your hands down. You can see here, Leo can take her hands down very well. But this may not be the case, and as I said before, you can lift the floor up a little with some support. Yeah, you can see the demonstration here. But the key thing here is that you're still maintaining that action where you're working in your Adho Mukha Svanasana and pulling up through your front thighs. It's a very, very important action. Lifting the abdomen, pressing down sharply in those outer foot bones and lifting through the whole of the inner thighs. And of course, being here, lifting up, lifting the abdomen through the front body is really a key action when you're trying to come into your inversions. So when you eventually come for your Shirshasana even, you're going to need such a good action with the center of direction. Okay, you can come out of your Uttanasana now. So we're coming into a seated position, Dandasana. So I just want to have one brick for this Dandasana action. Now you may have to sit on a brick because you may find that you drop your lower spine and therefore you need another brick as well. So if you find that your back is really tight, the hamstrings are tight and you're not really getting the lift in the pose and lifting through the center of the body, then you'll need to sit on something. If you can sit on the floor and still get the action, then fine. But with either, what I want you to do is to just take the thigh flesh back slightly. Now this is another action that I want you to do. Just take the legs slightly apart and place the brick so it goes in between the thighs, and then grip the brick. Take the hands beside you and grip that brick and push those thigh bones down very strongly. Now this will help us with the next pose, because our next pose is Paripurna Navasana, which is a really challenging pose. It comes on our introductory syllabus, but everybody finds it quite challenging. But this helps, and the reason why it helps is that you've got to find the strength and the wrapping in the leg. So we will go into more detail about the direction of the thigh muscles in a different video, but for now, getting the action of rolling those thighs into the brick is really important. Okay, so release from that action. So now you're going to take the hands back a little bit further so that Leah's going to come a little bit further forward so that she's not going to fall over on any of that stuff.
Yes, just to mention that when you come into this pose, Paripurna Navasana, just make sure that you haven't got a wall behind you or your wooden bricks or anything, because if you go, you're going to go backwards, generally speaking, so it's best to make sure you don't have anything.
I spent the first 2 years of my yoga practice definitely hitting into the wall behind me, so okay, that was a long time ago. Alright, taking the hands behind you. Now, it is challenging, you've got to get as much lift from the body as possible, walk your hands back. Now just bend the elbows slightly and be in this position. Now these legs have got to go all the way to the root of the thigh and beyond, all the way through the body groins, all the way out towards the sternum chest. Yeah, so you've got to find that. Now the pubic plate, which is what we call the lower abdominal area, the size of the pubic plate, got to fit into your sacral area. That's the big bone at the back. So the big bone mustn't collapse with that. So you don't drop your lower back, it collects the pubic plate. So the pubic plate goes in. You lean, you lift your chest, and then you lift your legs. Now, if you're one of those people who find it very difficult to lift the legs straight up, then you can bend your knees, and Leo's going to show that demonstration, and then extending the legs. So you extend the legs up, pull up through the thighs, and see if you can straighten your arms and be in this position. Hold for 5, and then releasing down. So it's a challenging one. And sometimes the poses that we find really challenging are the ones that we need the most. So do practice it. This thing, that. Okay. So how will this help with our Halasana action? So we're going to put the Halasana support together now. We've got 5 foam pads all together, one being a launch pad. Now we use this support, and you'll be able to see in our Halasana tutorial, we use the support so that we get a lift of the shoulders so the neck is protected. It's very important in our practice. So taking your support. You can see here, I know lots of people, if you're already practicing, you might have a slightly different support to this, but we're just putting this together fairly quickly.
Just going to roll that mat over.
Okay, so now Halasana is very much like a forward bend but upside down. So this is why we're concentrated on forward bending action. So you can reach for your chair, so you can reach your arms towards your chair so you can see the distance is right. And then you have to bend your knees into your chest, so very much how we were working in the Paripurna Navasana, but you need to have so much length in your lower back and so much softness in your abdomen. So the softness of the abdomen weights down so that you can then reach over onto the chair to be in this position. Alright, so you have to support your back in your Halasana. So bringing in some of these actions that we were practicing previously, we've got to see that you reach into your heels very strongly, and the fronts of the thighs have got to push the bones up, so you lift through here. Now when you think about your forward bending, you have to see that the abdomen is soft and moving towards the spine side. So be sure that you're moving the abdomen towards the spine and you're lifting the back of the pelvis up. So really key, important practice. I'm just going to move Leo's shoulder a little bit there. It's a very, very important practice to get that spine nicely open, and this will hold you in really good stead for all your inversions. So be sure that you practice. We're practicing on the chair. Today is day one. I know some of you can practice to the floor, but the chair's always good to go back to because you can really get that strong lift and understanding of the center of direction. So when you come down, you just come down very slowly. See if you can come down, just moving the spine little by little until you come into a grounded action. And then just be in there for a few moments. You can take your support away and place that underneath the head. I'm just in the way of Leo here because we don't have very much space here. Alright, and just be in that position. Just let yourself release for a moment or two before getting up. So once you have just relaxed for a few moments, then roll to your right side and come into a seated position. A nice platform to sit on.
So we hope you've enjoyed doing our sequence with us today, and we will come back with more poses that will help you to improve your Halasana.
Yes, we look forward to seeing you soon.
Namaste.
Namaste.